Sometimes I think I'm an overachiever, but it's just the drive that is inside of me to want more, to do more.
Welcome to the Shan and Tam Show.
So welcome back to the show, Shan and Tam fam. We are excited to be with you again today. We have a special guest in our midst, Dr. Greenfield. She specializes in empowering women and walking in her purpose. She is a woman of faith. She's a woman of stepping out and just doing it. And we know that you'll be so inspired by hearing her journey and her experiences today.
That's right. I'm personally bursting with pride to welcome Dr. Arlene Greenfield into our space. She has been a very close and personal friend of mine for over 20 years, and she has been doing amazing things with her life. Fam, if you're not inspired after you've heard her story and heard her speak, I don't know what else will get you to move. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Reverend Dr. Arlene Greenfield, welcome, my sister, my friend. It is such an honor to have you on with us this afternoon. We're grateful for your time because I know you're a busy woman. So it's really a pleasure for you to be with us today. And we're really looking forward to diving deep into that rich story of yours. So to get us started, as we do with all our guests, we want you to tell us a little bit about yourself and just about your childhood, your humble beginnings that I know you had.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Tam and Shan. You know, I have to say, you guys are doing an amazing job, and it is truly, indeed, honor and a pleasure to be here with you this evening to talk about life. Because, you know, call it what it is. It's life. You know, I heard you say Reverend Doctor. I was not born that way. So just so you know, I was not born that way. I know that, you know, God created us special because he said before you were born in Jeremiah, he said before you were born, I know the plans I have for you, you know, and so he ordained these days that we're living in and the journey that I've taken. And I cannot say anything else but to God be the glory, great things he hath done. I have to put him first, you know, because what has happened in my life has nothing to do with me. I'm grateful for the parents that brought me on this planet. And they were two of the most amazing parents that anybody could have. I love them dearly. They went home to be with the Lord. But my, I was a daddy's girl. So yes, I love them dearly, but I do talk a lot more about my dad than I do about my mom, which is not fair to her because she gave up so much just to grow us. You know, as we go through the years, I have 4 brothers and 2 sisters. I am like the middle child, so I was very independent. I grew up very independent. And then being a daddy's girl, I get away with so much. So I can always say, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I don't have to do that. My brother who passed, one brother passed, and he was the one, he thought he was invincible. And so when we were doing anything as kids, he would be the one standing in front. He's not running. And he got all the whoopings.
Oh no!
And he got all the whoopings. You know, as we got older, we talked about these things, and he would remind us, like, "Listen, don't even say anything, because I got all the beatings for you." And I said, "Yes, I know, I remember." But we were very close. So I have, you know, 4 brothers and 2 sisters. We grew up. Now that I look back, we did not have financial wealth. But what we had was a love that was unconditional. I grew up knowing what it means to love.
Oh,
I grew up knowing what it means to share. My mom was in our little district. She was the person who has the big pot, and she would make dinner every day. And her dinner, there was some set aside because somebody's going to come by for dinner.
Yes.
And there were kids growing up in the community, and they would just know I can time Sister Mobile's pot. I used to call her Sister Mobile. I can time her pot because I know if I go there, she always has something left in there in the pot for somebody to pass by. And one of the things that I realized is that there were like 1, 2, 3, like about 5 different families. And every evening there was a plate coming from the neighbors. I don't know if you had that,
yes.
but there were a plate coming from every neighbor. So when my mom cooked, she had to cover for this neighbor, that neighbor, that neighbor. And then they had the same thing. So they all shared the pot. And I thought that was such an amazing lesson that I learned. You know, it taught me the gift of sharing, loving your neighbor. That was really a testament of really loving your neighbor. So as we grew up, and you know, we grew up with our 2 parents, which was a blessing, but they didn't have much, as I said earlier. But what they had, they gave abundantly, and that was love. And we grew up knowing how to love one another. So much so that even though we're far apart, and my brothers are still in Jamaica, I still have 3 brothers, one sister, and my other sister is in Virginia. We have such a bond that if they ever need anything, they know they can call on either one of us, and we are always ready to give a helping hand. You know, when my brother passed, it was sad, but we have managed to overcome that, and we just keep going. But it was really a beautiful opportunity that we had growing up. We have, and I try to instill that in my own kids even today. I said, let me tell you something. The one thing you will ever have is each other.
Yes.
And don't ever let anything come between you. There should be no material things that should come between you. Because if it's one thing, I'm teaching you how to love one another. I will stop what I'm doing, Tom, because here I am now in Orlando, and I will stop what I'm doing. Just to come to your aid. And I want you to be able to do that for each other. When someone call, when your brother or your sisters call, listen, it's important. Give some attention to it. And so, you know, I have that's something that I took away from what my upbringing has taught me. And that's, you know, it's important to love one another, to share with one another, and to make sure that we always put people first. That was my dad's philosophy. People come first. It doesn't matter what, you put people first. And everything else will come after. Because my dad was a funny man. He was not religious. He was a Rastafarian. I loved him. I love my dad. When I say I love my dad, I love my mom. Don't get me wrong. And I don't want this to be as if, oh, you're not. But I was a dada's girl, man. I'm telling you, I love my dad dearly. He instilled, I have so many of his traits that I carry. You know, I am who I am today because of God. But at the end of the day, when I look back at my life, I am where I am because I had some of my father's traits. And I was, from very early, I was able to stand up for myself. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. You're not going to get me to do that. And, you know, and that's my dad coming out in me, because he was a no-nonsense person. He was a no-nonsense person. I just don't curse as much as he did. But my mom told me that growing up. My mom told me that growing up, I used to like curse like a sailor.
Oh no!
The only person who could wash my hair was my dad.
Really?
Trust me, I have a lot. Yeah, she's like, when she takes me to wash my hair, I start, and I would like curse, use all the curse words. And she would have to call my dad, and my dad would come put me across his lap, and wash my hair.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, wow,
Well,
interesting.
tell
But it,
the people, tell the people exactly where you're from.
I am from the hills of Hanover, Jamaica.
Yes,
And you know what, Tom? I should have I have a picture with that little church on the hill. When
yes.
you think of Jamaica and you think of Hanover, you can barely find it on a map, honestly. If you don't know where that is in
Yes.
Cascade, you're not going to know. But it's nestled between Birches Hill
Mhm.
and another hill in Pondside on the other side. But it's right in the middle there, like a little cul-de-sac.
Mhm.
And you can only see it from an aircraft.
Mm.
You're not gonna see anywhere else.
It's very lush.
It
the
is so green.
It's the
It is
heart.
so lusciously green.
First,
I have to be back in Cascade. I have
home
to
is
be back.
paradise.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yes.
That's amazing, Arlene. You know, listening to you and hearing some of your humble beginnings, I can actually relate because that's how my grandmother was, right?
Mhm.
She would cook food for everybody, even though you don't know who is coming. She's like, someone will come for the food. So
Mhm.
that's very important. And I like what you said about teaching your children about loving and being there for each other. I think that's really important, especially now when in times like these, people are losing the essence of family. So
Yes.
that's really important, right? So you
Yes.
talked a bit about,
Yes.
about your humble beginnings. How were you able to navigate some of the circumstances that you went through growing up within your childhood?
Well, I have to tell you this. Even though I am where I am today, I wasn't one of the recipients of the so-called common entrance exam, which was probably the way to get into high school. And I was a bright girl. I thought I was a bright girl, but I never passed the common entrance exam. What I did was Osemarti, and I thought that was my way of God getting me out. That was the hand of God on my life. Now that I look back and realize that nothing happens by coincidence, there's no coincidence. And so when I look back and I see where and how it happened, like most of the students when I was in primary school, they passed the common entrance, they went on, and I was like, man, I'm going to be stuck in this place, this little country girl who I was the shyest thing you can ever think of.
Really?
I would go in and I'm not talking. I wouldn't talk. I'm not a talker. So I was so shy because I'm just afraid that I'm going to say the wrong thing when I speak.
Right.
Because, of course, I was not, I wouldn't say, I wasn't very versed at the English language because the community, we speak patois.
Right.
That's what it is. So the English we learn is what we learn in school. So that kind of put me at a disadvantage because I wasn't very versed in the language. And so when I would speak, I would be afraid because I'm like, what if they don't understand what I'm saying? Because most of what's going to come out is the patois.
Right.
So that made me very withdrawn at the time. But I tell you this, when I write, I was always writing well. And I didn't pass the common entrance, but my sister was already in Osamarti High School. It was Osamarti Secondary then because it had just been built. I think that was in the 70s. I don't remember the date. And she was like, okay, this is your way out. You can come to boarding school and get out. So I jumped at the opportunity. I left country one morning early, went to Osamarti, did my entrance exam, did well, got passed. And I went in, even though, I went in at grade 7 because that's where they started, even though I was 1 year early because I was still in the 6th grade. So I went into the school 1 year earlier. So I graduated 1 year earlier. But I was so happy for that opportunity. And I got to Osamarti, and I'm not going to tell you it was a bed of roses. There were a lot of challenges, but that was my way out. And even after I finished high school, I thought I wasn't going to go back to country, but life wasn't what I expected it to be. I was finished. but I couldn't stay where I was staying at home in Kingston because, the situation did not allow me to do that.
Yes.
I was up against a lot of different struggles, and I'm like, okay. And my mom says, come back. And I'm like, okay. My dad was like, you better come back because I don't want to have to do anything, to
To
hurt
anybody.
anybody or so. So you better come back. And I'm like, okay, Dad, I'm going to come back. And I went back, not knowing what I was going to do. But when I got back to Hanover and I went to live with my parents, I realized now it was a safe haven and it was a safe space, but there was no growth.
Okay.
There was nothing there for me. And after high school, I remember my guidance counselor said to me, why going back? Why not go into teachers college? I said, teachers college? I'm not going to be no teacher. I don't want to be no teacher. She's like, yeah, but you would make a great teacher. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to teachers college because I had my mind set on doing business because that's where I was. And I really liked that area, of study. And I went back and I signed up with Heart Program. Are you familiar with Heart Program? You know about Heart Program?
Yes, I do.
Yes. So I went back, I got my a few CXE subjects and SSE subjects. So I had a foundation and I went back, signed up with Heart, and they gave me a job placement. And then in the evenings, I would go to Racies and do additional subjects. I worked with the health center. Okay. I don't know if you remember that woman, Miss Monica McIntyre. She was the Heart coordinator at the time. Yes. And it so happened that I met her twice in my life. I'll tell you the other part of it.
Okay.
But when I went there, she placed me in the health center to work as a medical records clerk. And I was doing it. I liked it. But when I met the public health nurse at the time, Nurse Dockery, I think may her soul rest in peace. I worked there for about a month and she called me in the office one morning and she said, what are you doing here? And I was like, what do you mean what I'm doing here? I'm working. And she's like, no, you're not going to be here. And I'm like, so where am I going to go? Because Heart placed me here. I was still so shy and timid. I was like 18.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, you're not staying. And I said, so what am I going to do? She said, you're going into teachers college.
Really?
I said, teachers college?
Wow.
She said, yes. And I'm like, but I never applied and I didn't want to go to teachers college. She's like, you don't need anything. I know the principal at Sharpe Teachers College.
Right.
I'm going to call her. You're going to put your application in and you're going to go do whatever you have to do. And then that's it. That was the story. I went in, I did my my entrance exam, and I wasn't even finished taking the 2 subjects that I signed up for because that happened before the 60. So they said, okay, since you're doing those, come in, finish them, and then start the program the following September.
Okay.
And that's what I did. And so I went in and with my ambitious self, I took on chemistry. Never did chemistry in my life. But because I was there and I just had those 2 courses that I was doing, I did language, English language, geography, chemistry. So those are my 3 subjects that I was doing. Oh, girl, I failed chemistry miserably. I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. But I aced my language art, my language exam, and my geography. So I went into doing social studies and history, social studies, geography at Sharpe Teachers College. And that was it. But before that, I actually was signed up with Duff's Business College in Montego Bay.
Yeah.
I had my uniform and everything because I was sure I was going to go in there that September.
Yes.
So I had my uniform, I had my books because I was going to go to business school and I couldn't make it to CAS because my parents didn't have the money to put me in CAS.
Right.
So I wanted to do, I wanted to take the little steps because I have to get out. I couldn't stay in that place. There was something inside of me that told me there's so much more. And I was reading books like Kaleidoscope, Daniel Steele, and all those grandeur ideas of getting out there, owning my own business and doing things. I was going to do, that was going to happen for me, because I cannot stay Little Cascade. I cannot be here, and I have to move on. So Sam Sharpe did it for me. And I said, you know what, I am not, and if you're listening, you know, and when this is aired and you're listening, make sure you have something that's going to create that stepping stone opportunity for you. It might not be something that you really think you're going into because you don't have a passion at the time, or you think you were not made for that. But if the opportunity comes, it presents itself, and two times, I'm like, I'm going to take this. And it is going to be the stepping stone for what is to come. What is to come, I never knew. But all I knew was, and I kept saying it even to my students, I said, that was my stepping stone. Going into Teachers College and just keeping my focus as the direction that I want to go. And so, you know, I went in, did all that, my uniform and everything. I turned over to my sister. I said, your name is now Arlene Bowen. So you better go and do well, because everything was already done. She went probably about 2 weeks. She's like, that's not for me.
That's not.
And that was the end of the story.
Isn't it amazing how people can see in us what we don't even see for ourselves?
Yes.
Like, people can really, because, you know, two people told you, you're going to Teachers College, or you should go to Teachers College, right? So it's just amazing how people can actually recognize the potential and sometimes the gifts that you have that you don't even realize yourself, you know?
No.
Yeah.
No, I did not see that. And I am like, you know what? Take the opportunity, just take it. You know, Tam, because you're right. You don't see it in you, but, you know, and once it is, two times, nobody, they couldn't be wrong.
Right.
And that's when I said, okay, you know, my guidance counselor said it. I know you were saying it. There has to be something, but I don't feel that way. But I'm going to use it as a stepping stone anyway. Right. And that was my way out. I did Teachers College, and after Teachers College, then I still wasn't satisfied, because there's a drive inside of me, and you're gonna hear, I'm still not satisfied. I might have what I have, and you know, sometimes I think I'm an overachiever, but it's just the drive that is inside of me to want more, to do more. And, you know, it's amazing. So that was the beginning, and that's how I got out. And the funny thing is, after college, I went right back to my community. I started, I worked with Merlin Ate when they just started. I tried Racis again. And because I got pregnant in college, I had a baby when, in September. Oh, that's another story. Girl, I visited, I think I had one graduation.
Oh, really?
And that's my high school graduation. That's the only one I attended. Okay. All my graduations, I was having babies, so.
So I met you at a time when you were, again, then, like, moving to another stage of your life, because I met you when you were married, you had 2 kids, and you were teaching. You had been teaching for some time, and you were again launching out into another area, doing night classes.
Oh my gosh, that was.
Begin a university degree, traveling from the city to the countryside at night. You know, we're talking about some 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. So
oh my God.
Tell us a little bit about that time and what that was about. You know, what drove you to take that additional step, and what was that period like for you?
Oh boy, Tom, I mean, Shan, you were not part of that journey, but I tell you, God brought Tamara in my life at that time. She was there like just in time, because I remember Tam lives in Hopewell, and I would get a ride with her to Hopewell. And listen,
It's kind of
How it's gonna
halfway.
happen after that? Even sometimes tomorrow was like tomorrow, yeah, that was the halfway. And tomorrow would be like, so when are you going home? And she was, oh my God, she was so kind. She would probably sometimes wait there and to see who is taking me home. That way she can say, okay, I know she left with this car, because it was so late, it was so risky. And sometimes they said, youth is, it sometimes blind your judgment. It is so true, because I was young and I thought nothing's gonna happen. I'm just gonna get it done. And I think that's for me, not knowing that it's not the youth, but it's God that was covering my life at the time. It just blows my mind when I think about it. And I remember my husband saying to me, Tom, when I started, he like, why don't you wait until we buy a car? And that way you don't have to. I said, no, there's nothing to wait on. It's like, I'm not waiting. And that's just the stubbornness in me. I'm like, I'm not waiting. What am I waiting for? I need to get this done, because there is more. And the longer I wait, is the more I'm going to keep myself back, hold myself back. So I want to make sure that when the opportunity presents itself, I'm ready.
Right.
And so those nights, Samara, those were some huge risks.
Yes.
But, I knew I had to do it, because I was already, 8 years with the Ministry of Education after graduation. And I was like, I'm ready to probably about not 8, probably about 5, 6 years after. Yeah. And it was about 5, because you get your leave every 5 years, I think it was, or 4 years. And it was about time for leave. And I'm like, I'm not taking my leave and sit down for 4 months. I'm going back to school. I'm going to use that 4 months when I'm being paid to go to school. And then I'm going to line everything up so I can have that 4 months when I'm being paid, take a year off for study, I'm being paid, and then I won't have to lose pay for more than about 4 months. So it was calculated. It was really calculated, because I needed to have money while I'm at school. So I calculated it, and I decided that, man, if I can do some time off campus, doing this, and it was new. It was a new experience for me. I feel like I didn't have to go and spend all this time away from the kids and my family. And if I can cut it down, and boy, it was a struggle. It was a struggle. I remember those days, Tamara, we used to go to College to do the math, because that math was driving me crazy. I remember.
I think I took math like 3 times.
Yes. But, it was just so risky. But, God always placed the right people in your path at the right time. And I truly believe that.
Right. I'm sure that you have been just in awe hearing so far some of Dr. Greenfield's story. And we're going to leave it here for today, because we can't give you everything all at once. So we're going to leave possibly the best for last. We will pick it up again next time when we finish our conversation with Dr. Greenfield. Shan, what do you have to say to the fam right now?
You know what? Just be open to hear what Dr. Greenfield has to say. Like, she was so impactful, and truly you're going to be blown away by her journey and by her experiences.
So fam, until we pick it up next time with Arlene, we want you to step up, subscribe, share, like the videos, share it with a friend. Somebody needs to hear the message. We believe that there is a space on YouTube for people to be inspired, to be empowered, to be educated. And that's why we're here. So subscribe to our channel, like the video, and most importantly as well, share it with a friend. We will see you next time. Thanks for watching the show today, Shan and Tam fam.
Ensure you hit the subscribe button, like, and share this video.
Send the link to a friend in WhatsApp, Facebook, or even Instagram, fam. And of course, don't miss when we post a new video, so hit that notifications button.
Also, check out the details box for this video for all the links for Shan and Tam's social media and blog pages.